Hello, welcome. It is Tuesday, March 17th, and we are here to talk about celebrating Women's History Month and more with collection analysis. So, thank you for joining us for our second spring webinar, and let's dive right in. So, if you're not familiar, collection analysis initiatives from TeachingBooks. These initiatives from the State Library of Ohio and the Missouri State Library bring ongoing professional development and support to library staff in public libraries, in school libraries, in academic libraries, anywhere you're working with children's and young adult books, providing tools that can help you affirm that those books in your displays, in your collections, your recommended reading lists are meeting the need that you want them to meet. So, making sure that what you have, what you're promoting is exactly what you want it to be. My name is Susanna Gilbert. I am a project coordinator with TeachingBooks. I get to do these webinars and answer all of your interesting questions by email and phone, and just spend a lot of time talking about collection development and collection analysis. So I'm very excited to do some more of that today. I'm going to pass things over quickly to Erin from the State Library of Ohio.
Hello, my name's Erin from the State Library of Ohio. I'm a library consultant there, and one of my roles is to help promote and facilitate and spread awareness of this amazing tool. So excited to be here and always happy to work with TeachingBooks and Susanna. We're just really excited to be able to provide access to this really helpful tool.
Thank you. As you'll see on the screen here, contact information for Erin and I. If you are using these tools and you are in Ohio, please feel free to reach out to either of us or both of us with any of your questions. That is part of the initiative as well. All right, and here's some similar information, and let's hear from Katie.
Thanks, Susanna. So similar to Erin, I am a consultant with the State Library in Missouri. I'm the youth services consultant, and one of my jobs is working with Susanna and the rest of the Teaching Books team to bring you the resources and tools that are available through Teaching Books and the Collection Analysis Initiative. We've had it for a number of years now, and hope to just see it grow because it's a really amazing tool. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you both. Again, please feel free to reach out at any point to either of us, both of us, with your questions. We love to answer them. Today, quick overview of our agenda. We're going to talk kind of big picture about how these tools work, dive in a little bit to creating lists with a focus on taking a look at your displays, your recommended reading lists, those places where you're doing really targeted promotion of a certain set of titles. Then we'll talk about what you can learn from the analysis reports that we'll be looking at, what you can do with what you learned as you're finding and evaluating titles you might want to add, and then we'll have a little bit of time for some reflections at the end. As always, our goal is that you end this webinar feeling like you are totally equipped to get started and dive in and start using these tools at your library. So why these tools? The hope is always that this is something you can build routines around. We know you have a spectacularly limited amount of time at your disposal to be thinking about these things because there's 100 other things you also need to be thinking about. But these are effective and simple tools to help you do this thinking. They give you documentation of collection data that you don't have to put together yourself. You've got it all in one place. And you get resources to evaluate, promote, and bring books to life in addition to all of the information. So hopefully all of that can work together to give you some more confidence that titles are meeting the community needs that you need them to. Support and training are also available, as I've mentioned, this webinar, for instance, or additional support, whether that is shooting us a question by email, setting up a time to talk on Zoom and go through something you're having trouble with. However, we can support you in this work and with these tools. So what does this look like? You're going to start by picking a small set of titles from a collection, a display, recommended reading list. You can absolutely dive in and start looking at your whole collection or a large piece of your collection. But what I'm going to be talking about specifically today is those smaller sets. So a single display, a recommended reading list, how you can use this in really targeted ways. So you're going to pick that set of titles, whatever that may be. And then you're going to get them into TeachingBooks. So you'll have to import them into TeachingBooks. But there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. So hopefully one of those will work for you. As you can see in the pictures here, you can scan the ISBNs either with a barcode scanner, or if you don't have a barcode scanner, you can even do it with your phone camera. You can simply search for a title. You can copy and paste title and author information. You can upload a CSV file, which can be a nice option if you're working with a larger set of titles. So we'll dive into all of those a little bit more in a second here. All right, and then immediately, or slightly less immediately, but still very fast if you're looking at a larger set of titles, you're going to get a report with a whole bunch of information about the books that you're looking at. So genre information, cultural experiences, fiction, nonfiction, diverse books, award winners, your publication year median, all sorts of stuff that you can dive into and see if it's what you're expecting to see. All right, and now we are going to hop over to TeachingBooks. So this is where we're going to spend almost all of our time today. I think it's always more helpful to just see how this works rather than looking at a whole bunch of slides of screenshots of what I would be doing if we were on the site. So please feel free to follow along if you're watching this and you want to have TeachingBooks open in another tab, if that's helpful for you. But the first thing I want to mention is that you do need to be logged in. Either as an educator if you're on our school platform or as a professional if you're on our library platform. Everything that I'm going to be doing today does rely on you being logged in. Fortunately, that's very easy to do if you haven't done it before. One other note before I do that, you'll see here that we are on our TeachingBooks for Schools platform, red version. We also have our TeachingBooks for Libraries platform. That you can get to via that link or by going to library.teachingbooks.net. It's going to be all of the same stuff organized with that audience in mind. So the tools are going to work exactly the same. It's just going to be kind of set up a little bit differently, and you'll get to see blue instead of red. So, if you've got a color preference, I guess you can go by that too. The other thing I want to note here is you'll see it says Welcome Missouri. I am going to log in here. Just went to this toggle menu and then Educator Login. And then I'm going to put in my work email that makes it look like I'm in Missouri. But if you are in Ohio, do not fear. This is all the same. So if you're in Ohio, if you're in Missouri, if you're in a public library, if you're in a school, all of it is going to be the same, what I'm talking about today. So there are things that will be different between the two platforms, between the kind of access you have in those two states, but everything that we're specifically focusing on today is going to be exactly the same. So just insert your state where you need to, I guess. First thing I'll note here, now you're going to see that it says welcome and my first name in the upper left corner here, and that's how you know for sure that you are logged in as a educator or professional rather than as a institution level account where it's that anonymous access. The other thing you will obviously notice is that we did not go straight to the normal TeachingBooks homepage that we were on a second ago. When I logged in, it took me directly to this Missouri Collection Analysis Initiative page. So this is one of the things that happens when you register for the initiative, is your account gets flagged so that we know that this is something you're working on, and you have all of these resources in one place right at your fingertips. Again, hopefully saving you some time on doing this work. You'll see here, we've got a little bit of an intro to what you can do with these tools, how it works. You can dive in and start creating a list right away. You can explore some of the support materials we have available that are all linked here. So there is a handbook that will take a second to load. Always, I need to like develop a little song that I do while this loads because we do this every month. All right, here we go. So this is going to go through step by step this whole process, hopefully answering some of the questions that you might have or giving you another opportunity to follow along as you're working through the process. Have that kind of check-in point for yourself to say, does this look like what I'm seeing in the handbook? Is this working the way I'm expecting it to? We also have a quick start guide, which is just a faster kind of walkthrough of some of the steps. We have an FAQ document. This is getting updated all the time as questions are asked more frequently. We'll get new ones added in, but there's a whole lot of useful information here for you as well. And then there's also going to be a link to a sample list analysis report if you would like to take a look at one. If you've got questions, again, you saw my contact information on the slides, but it is here as well, so you can always come back to it. You can give me a call. You can email help@teachingbooks.net, and those questions will get to me directly. So please do use all of that. Okay, so now that we're here, we know where we are. What are we going to do? Today, we're going to be talking about using collection analysis tools to create, enhance, and promote displays, reading lists, and generally kind of featured titles for a Heritage Month. So since it's still March, we are going to use Women's History Month as our example. You can use this as a way to get a really big head start on what you're planning to do for Women's History Month in 2027, or you can take this opportunity to follow along and look at what you're sharing for the last couple of weeks of this March, this Women's History Month. So. But more generally, we're just going to be using this as a way to think about Heritage Months in general. So how might you approach using the collection analysis tools when you are thinking about that kind of promotion in your library or your school?
I was just going to add that having an updated list or reviewing like a book list now can be used very handily for the rest of Women's History Month, but also throughout maybe the summer when your displays are empty because it's summer reading and you want to fill it with some interesting titles that probably kids would really like. But having this in your back pocket is kind of nice to be able to slot in throughout the year at different times.
Absolutely. Turns out you can promote books about women every month if you
Year
would like.
round.
It is allowed and encouraged. Yes, thank you. All right, we're going to dive in and just start creating a list here. So there's a few different ways to get to that. We've got our Start Creating a List button. We can go to the Your Custom Reading Lists link on the left-hand side here. The toggle menu is also going to have a Your Reading Lists link. There are a whole bunch of different ways to get to that. But all of them will get you to this Your Reading Lists page. You can start creating a new list. You can go back to that Missouri Initiative page. You'll see your state lists here, depending on what state you're in. And then any lists that you created previously will live on this page. So this is where you'll go to find them later, once you've created one or many, however many you're trying to create. But I'm going to dive in here and we'll create a new one. First thing you're going to do is pick a collection name. So this is going to be a Women's History Month display, and then we'll save that title. And you do have to do that before it will let you add any titles. So you're kind of saving like a shell of a list, and then you can put things into it. as I mentioned, there are quite a few different ways to do that. So hopefully one of them will work for you. You are able to add titles one at a time. So with our quick add options here, you can very simply search for a title. If this was not the one that you were hoping for, you could add the author's name and make sure that you're getting the result you're looking for. And then there's going to be a little plus sign with some lines here that is our add to reading list icon. So we click that, it's going to turn into the green check mark, and now we have a title on our list. You can clear this search, save, and there we are. You can also add titles by one at a time by ISBN. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier. If you're on a computer that is attached to a barcode scanner, you can just simply click into this box here, scan the ISBN in, and it will match almost always. We have it's not perfect, but we have a very large collection of title author ISBN matches. So we're almost always able to pull up a match for an ISBN. If you are not on a computer with an ISBN with a barcode scanner, you can use a camera, so phone, tablet, even a laptop webcam, by clicking on this little kind of barcode icon here. This is going to connect to the camera. It will probably ask you if it can use your camera, allow, block, all of that. You'll want to allow it. It's not going to do anything beyond sit here loading because I'm using my webcam for Zoom. So we won't go all the way through that today, but you can just hold the ISBN up to the camera and it will scan. If you're having any problems with that, please do reach out. I'm happy to help troubleshoot. I know it can be a little fussy depending on what kind of device you're on. But when we do have an ISBN, however we're getting it in there, we can put that in, and then again, it will pop up hopefully with a match that's on TeachingBooks, and you can add that to your reading list, clear your search, save. So those are our kind of one at a time options. I'm not going to sit here and do all of the titles that we're going to put into this list. And I also want to talk about our bulk add options. So we've got paste a list of titles and authors. So you can type or paste in a whole bunch here and just send them out. It'll tell you exactly how that needs to be formatted. Same thing with a list of ISBNs, what you can and can't have in here. And then upload a CSV file. So again, all of your notes at the top about formatting. This one is where you really want to be careful with the formatting. Number one CSV troubleshooting question I get is about, I didn't get any matches, and it's usually because you got to really make sure that those columns are in the order that you want them to be. So spreadsheets are not everybody's favorite thing in the whole wide world, so please reach out to me if you're having any issues with that. I'm happy to look at it with you, run it through and see what I can get, anything like that. So reach out if you're having trouble. If you're trying to pull a spreadsheet report from whatever your system is, where your collection information lives, I'm happy to help with that as well. Okay, let me grab some ISBNs and we will paste those in. I'm going to hit import, and that's going to tell me right away how many matches I got. We got 15. 15 out of 15 match the TeachingBooks collection. That is because I created this list ahead of time so that would happen. But you might see some that don't quite match. We do have instances where an ISBN will get you a title author match, but it's not a title that is included in the TeachingBooks database. Again, if you're having questions about that, having issues with that, please reach out. I'm happy to look at it with you. We'll continue, and now we have 17 titles. That was very, very quick because it was 15 titles. If you are importing a list that is significantly larger, so 50 titles, 200 titles, 2,000 titles. You can put up to 10,000 on a single list, but above about that 50 line, it is going to take a little bit longer. So it'll be put into a queue in our system. You'll get a little pop-up telling you that, and you'll have a nice little kind of status bar option on the side that will tell you when it has been processed and when all of your titles have imported. So doesn't take a terribly long usually, unless everyone in your building is simultaneously uploading 8,000 titles. But it's something to watch out for if you're looking at larger lists. All right, so we're going to save. We have our list here. We could play around with this here. You can edit any list at any time. You can come back to it. Take titles off with the little remove X on the left. You can add notes to yourself, information that you might want to have in the notes field here. But we are going to focus today on, of course, our collection analysis report. So we're going to go to View List. And here we are again with our 17 titles. We could dive in, explore some of the resources available here. We can, again, edit this list. We can share it. We'll talk about some of that a little bit later. But first, we're going to look at our list analysis. So you can view a list analysis report, or you can save a list analysis report. To view, you're going to see this little triangle icon. And this is going to show up on every single list on TeachingBooks. So lists you create, your state lists that we saw on that reading lists page. We have thematic lists of titles. So, you could search Women's History Month here and get a list from, School Library Journal or YALSA, anything like that. And those lists would have this analysis report as well. But the thing that we're going to do today, so that we can do a little bit more complicated analysis later, is save that report. So on the left here, you'll see there's an option to save list analysis report. I'm going to hit that. We're going to say we want a new report. And there we go. Boom, list analysis. All right. You can, again, share this. You can download it all as a spreadsheet. You can print it out, see all the beautiful charts and graphs, hard copy, or you can just explore here what you have. So we've got 6 genres represented, 4 cultural experiences. This is, I think I forgot to mention this, this is currently a list of picture book biographies about women. So 100% nonfiction is exactly what I would expect to see there. I'm not surprised. So sometimes this is just saying, all right, yes, that's what we were hoping to see, and that's what we're seeing. So it's affirming that I did what I was hoping to do in that particular instance. We've got no graphic novels. We've got 16 award winners out of 17. That's ridiculously high. I'm not sure how I pulled that off. We've got a publication year median of 2017. We've got a page count average and word count average. That is exactly what I would expect to see for a list of picture books. So we can see a whole lot of information in this at a glance right away. And then we can dive in and see all of it in even more detail. So we've got our pie chart here showing us fiction, nonfiction. We can see some Lexile information there, which is always interesting. Recency / year published. I love this one because this is true of all of the charts and graphs. But I always like to show it here because I think it's really interesting to go in. And you can pick any of these and click on it, and it's going to open in a new tab and tell you what the book is from that year. So here we go. Here's our 2002 biography, or we could see, what do we have from 2023? So it isn't just giving you that information. It's letting you see exactly what's going on underneath all of this information as well. And then we've got our cultural experience details. So in this instance, 100% women and girls. There we go. Again, we are affirming that we did what we were hoping to do. But we can also see here we've got a little bit of other representation that is showing up as well. If you have questions about how Teaching Books categorizes books, how they're classified in these different cultural experience categories or genre categories or anything else, there are links to our classification definitions. You can read through those. You can reach out to me with questions. But something I do want to highlight here today is that something cool about the way that Teaching Books classifies these books is that there is a focus on books that are deeply about a particular experience. So these are not going to be books that simply have a female main character or a biography that is just happens to be about a woman. There has to be some element of the story that is focused on that experience. So what is happening in that particular book is the fact that it's about a woman is kind of essential to what's going on there. So there's more about that in the classification definitions, but I think it's particularly interesting when you're thinking about this kind of Heritage Month or anything else kind of creation. So there you go. Genre details, 100% biographies, check. I do not know what the holiday book is here. Wait, yes, I do. We just opened it. It was also our 2002 book. There we go. Thanksgiving. We've got all nonfiction. We've got almost all picture books. Some sports. There you go. I don't know how I ended up with 4 sports books, but that's kind of fun. And then curricular area. So we can see we've got some STEAM and science, social studies, physical education. I assume that overlaps with sports books, but we can see that as well. And then it's going to tell you what's not included. And this is always the moment. If you've been to any of these webinars before, you've heard me give this speech so many times, I will give it again. Nothing on here is intended to be a checklist. We're not saying you have to have every single one of these cultural experiences on your book list, or it's not a good book list. We're not saying you got to have every single genre in your display, or it's not a good display. This is just information. There's no judgment in it. It is, you know what you were trying to accomplish with a particular set of titles. You know your community. And this is just giving you a checkpoint to see what you notice. Is this meeting the goal or need you were trying to meet? How might it help to make some changes to it? Is anything surprising? Is anything jumping out at you going, wait, I definitely thought that I had, some books about Muslim women included in this biography list, and now I'm really surprised that that's not showing up. Whatever that looks like for you. Obviously, in this case, we're going to be focused a little bit more on the cultural experiences that are not included, a little bit less on the genres, since we are looking at a fairly narrow genre selection already with our biography list. All right. So some things that I'm thinking about with this list in particular that I noticed from what we went through is we didn't have a ton in our cultural experience details. And I think Women's History Month is a really always a really interesting opportunity to think about kind of intersectionality. So do we have a diverse selection of women being represented in something like a biography display? I also think this is an area where it's really interesting to look at our curricular areas. So, we've got some STEAM and science, which is great, but are there other kind of areas of interest where it might be good to find a biography? Can we find some biographies of female artists? Can we find some biographies of female mathematicians? What can we include that will make this appealing and interesting and open new doors to anybody who might be interested in exploring the display? So those are some things that I'm thinking that jumped out at me here that I'm going to be thinking about as we dive into our next option, which is Finding and evaluating additional titles. So the next thing you can do here on Teaching Books is find titles that might fill those gaps that you've identified. We are going to start out with this not included list. So these are all, excuse me, things opening up here, linked collections. We can say, all right, we are looking for Latina representation in this list. We know that's something we want to have. And get the full collection of all of the titles on Teaching Books that fall into this category. So it's about 2,000 titles. And then we can use the filters here, which are going to be kind of the same as some of those classifications that we saw, to narrow down what we're looking at. I know that we were kind of looking at a picture book biography range. A lot of those are going to fall into that kind of 3 to 4 grade band there. So we'll narrow that down. I mentioned that we were thinking we've already got an additional cultural experience, but we want to make sure that these are books that fall into that women and girls category as well, because that's our main focus here. So we'll select that from our cultural experiences. And so by doing it that way, we're kind of able to double filter. We're able to make sure that all of these books fall into both the women and girls category and this Latino US and Canada collection. And then on top of that, we're already down to 29 titles. That's much more manageable. I can see a couple, right off the top here that we might want to add. But we could also dive in if we were interested and pick a curricular area. We could say, yeah, we really want to focus on female artists. Oh, well, there aren't any. So we can go in and take that filter off. We could try that some other search and hope we have better luck. We could see what else we got. Music. We get anything good? There we go. All right. So we've got some good music ones we can add here. And we're going to throw these into a new list. So you can do these one at a time. You'll see that little familiar add to reading list icon. Or we can add multiple titles. And we'll grab a couple off the top here. We're going to add those to our new list. And hit add to list. There we go. And we can just keep playing with this. We didn't get a ton for music, so we could take that filter off again and say, all right, what about math? Nope. All right, this isn't, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you run into a wall. Sometimes you get a whole lot more than you're expecting. But it's fun to play around with these and see what you do have available. And again, we'll just keep going in, selecting that list and adding the titles. All right, so we looked at how to select something from our not included here. You can also keep scrolling down a little bit further, and there's an adding and weeding titles search function. And essentially what this does is this is going to let you do some of that filtering up front. So we could go in here and we could say we know we're looking for more titles about women and girls. We know we want biographies. We know kind of what grade level we're looking at. And then we could pick a curricular area from here right off the top. So maybe we want to see if we can go back in and find art ones that fall into any of those categories. So there we go. We've got 48. And we can filter down more. You can keep exploring. Maybe you want to keep our streak going and add some more award-winning titles. Maybe we want to find another cultural experience that we haven't really taken a look at yet. Maybe we want to focus on titles that are a little bit newer. So 2017 is a pretty good publication year median, I think, for something you're sharing out right now. You've got some newer stuff. You've got some stuff that's a little older, might be easier to find on your shelves. But it's always great to include some fun new titles as well. So we can limit that down and then add from here. So we'll just grab some of these off the top and add those to our list. and keep going. So again, we can go back, we can use that tool. We could go to our browse page up at the top here and then see all collections. And here we go again. These are the filters all laid out as collections. So we've got grade level, curricular area, genre, phonics and phonological awareness, if that's something you want to narrow down by. We've got our cultural experience details again, year published, resource format, resource type. So just about everything that you can narrow down by. But we can go in this way, see we've got all 3,000 titles in our women and girls collection, and then just keep playing with the filters.
That was one thing I was going to jump in and say, Susanna, because like
Yeah.
if you're using this for the first time, it can maybe feel like that there's a lot, and there is a lot, but what you're highlighting right now is there's multiple ways to get to the same information, which is really helpful. So there's not just one route and then you're lost. You can find
Yes.
that same information. And the filters, being able to get to those different ways has just been so helpful in so many different instances. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I love is those filters are always going to show up when you're browsing books on Teaching Books. If you're searching for something, you're always going to see those filters. So you're always able to take a look at things this way. Um, Also, I will briefly mention that I think we do have a very effective search option. So if all of this goes straight out of your head and you're on Teaching Books and you're panicking, you can just keyword search for something, and you're going to get some good relevant things, hopefully. So it's always a good way to find things as well. All right. Add a few more to our titles to add here. And then we're going to go view this list. So we could edit it. We can go straight to view it. We've got 15 titles on here. And maybe these are titles that you already have in your collection, and you just did not think of them when you were first building a display list. Maybe they weren't on the shelf when you were pulling things out of your biographies, but you could, put them on hold, make sure you snag them when they come back in the door, get them from a different branch, whatever that looks like for you in your particular library setting. Or they could be titles that you're thinking about purchasing. We are thinking a little further ahead. We're not thinking about the next 2 weeks. We're thinking about 2027 and Women's History Month. We're thinking about how to include these titles in other displays throughout the year. And so here are 15 that we might want to consider. We can go in and learn a little bit more about these titles if they are new to us and we're not sure if we want to include them. So we could open up a book here. And the resource, there are a whole bunch of resources. There's a ton that you can do with all of the resources on Teaching Books. But the one that I'm really going to highlight today is our book resumes, because I think these are the most helpful in terms of thinking about book selection and kind of curation of titles that you're sharing. So this is going to give you a whole bunch of information about a book. There's going to be grade band information as kind of a crosswalk of pulled from different sources. Here are all of those different classifications we've been looking at from Teaching Books, the categories that it falls into. We've got subject headings additionally from Library of Congress and BISAC. We've got full text professional reviews. It'll let you know if any of them are starred. But these come from 8 different review sources. They are here in their entirety, so you can read them all at once. We've got Booklist, School Library Journal, Publishers Weekly, Kirkus, all of the kind of big ones that you would think of. You're going to be able to find all of that in one place. So if you don't want to go track them all down, if your school district or your library is not able to keep up with those subscriptions anymore, here they all are already for you. Additionally, you can find out book awards and distinctions, how a book has been honored, has it popped up on any state or provincial reading lists, You can preview it if you're thinking about your digital collections. We are part of the Overdrive family, so you can explore ebook and audiobook samples, things like that. Um, and you can share this information out. So you can print a full report, you can print a one-page summary, you can share this digitally. So this might be information that you want to share with a colleague or supervisor as you're thinking about purchasing titles. Might be information you want to share with a parent you're working with if they need more information about a title. There's a whole bunch of different ways to use these.
I was just going to add that it can also be a helpful link or resource if you're wanting to include additional information in a book list for an educator, or if you're an educator and you can provide that to a parent or your administrator. You don't have to corral all that information. It's right in one place, which is really nice.
Yes, absolutely. Trying to make all of this quick and easy for you, while also having the maximum amount of information about what you're doing. So whether that's about all the titles in a collection or an individual title, information is power, right? We want to have all of this ready to go before we need it. Okay, so if we went through all of these, we said, yes, these are 15 great titles for our Women's History Month display. What do we do next? Again, we're going to save this list analysis report, but this time we're going to import it differently. So instead of creating a new report, we're going to pick our Women's History Month display, import it there, and now we have a version 2. So this one, pardon the scroll, still exists as it is. We've got our 17 titles, but now we have a new one with 32 titles. So the ones that we started with plus the 15 that we found. And we can see how this changed things. So without going out and spending the money or spending the time tracking the books down, you can see the impact that it would have if you decide to add these titles to your list or your display. So we've got that might be the same number of genres we had before. So we did not move the needle there, but we weren't trying to. I was not focusing on anything other than adding more biographies in our genre classifications. So there we go. But we did add 5 new cultural experiences. We are still at 100% nonfiction. We're still looking at some good numbers here with diverse books and award winners. Publication year median came up a little bit there. Page count and word count are about the same. Lexile is about the same. So this is pretty much exactly what I would hope to see from the things that we focused on when we were looking for new titles to add. We can go through all of this again. We can see, our publication year median came up a little bit, but we didn't remove old titles. We just added some that were a little bit newer. So refreshed this display a little bit. We've got more cultural experience details. We can see, of course, we still have all of our books about women and girls, but we've got a broader range here. We added South Asian, we added disability. I think we had Jewish already. We added American Indian, so we branched out some there. Again, our genre is about the same, but that's okay. We've still got biographies and nonfiction, which is what we were looking at there. But we added some curricular areas. So there's a few more categories represented here, a few more areas of interest, and our not included list has gotten a little bit shorter. So a lot of impact in not a lot of time. That did not take us very long to do, but we can see what an impact it could have to take a look at some of those titles. So one thing that I want to talk about a little bit before we talk about what you can do with this list is we can go into browse here. We'll close those. Back to our CL collections. And there are a lot of other options here for creating other displays, right? That was a very focused, we were looking at our biographies, we were looking at picture books, we were looking at a certain age range. But this works for anything that you want to highlight, however broad, however narrow. So we could start with women and girls again here, and instead of focusing in on those picture book biographies, we could say we're looking at some of our YA. We want to think about YA fiction that might make a good display for this month. And we could dive in and focus on a different genre. We could say, all right, we need some good science fiction and fantasy to pull up for Women's History Month. And this is, again, it's going to be a little bit more narrowly focused than just these books have female main characters. They are books that are really going to reflect that experience in a little bit of a deeper way. So that's a great option for including as you're creating lists or displays. And you could also do the same thing for any other thing that you're celebrating. Heritage Month, observance. We're looking ahead to May, and we want to think about Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. We could go in again, see all collections. We've got Asian American. We've got our Pacific Islander collection. We can pull both of those up and explore what we have available. And again, you can just keep narrowing, keep exploring, keep finding books that you never knew fell into certain categories or you never knew existed at all. It's a really fun discovery tool. So I think that's something I always like to highlight, because you don't just have the opportunity to learn more about what you already have. You have the opportunity to learn more about what's out there and what might help you meet the need you're hoping to meet in even more exciting ways.
Yeah, this is one of those tools that I unfortunately don't work at a public service desk anymore, but I would have loved this tool as a discovery tool or reader's advisory tool. Yeah, it's just a great way to dive in and see, read alikes or things that are just in the same genre that maybe somebody likes. So
Yeah,
it's really cool.
absolutely.
It's a library nerds like dream to kind of just sift around,
There's a
swim
lot of
around in
rabbit
it.
holes you can go down.
Yeah.
You could start saying, all right, we're celebrating both. We want our
Yeah.
books about women and girls that are also about Pacific Islanders, and there are not very many of those, but I had not heard of any of these. So there we go. I just learned about 6 new books. It's just, yeah, it's endless. And again, these can always be added to reading lists. You can, create all of those lists for as broad or as narrow, as niche a set of parameters as you are interested in taking a look at. So fun ways to explore there. All right. If we go back to our reading lists here, we did something I realized the other day after answering a question that I don't always talk about in these webinars is we've talked about how you can merge your reports, but merging your reports doesn't merge your lists. So you still just have this Women's History Month display and the titles you're thinking of adding. But if you decide to add these titles, what is the easiest way to get them into your display list? Because then there are some other things you could do with the display list. So we're going to take a look at how to do that. And what you're going to want to do here is have both of them open. We're going to go into the one that you want to add titles to and go to the edit page. And then we're going to go to our titles to add, and we're going to grab the number out of the URL here. So this is the ID number for your list, so you know what list it is. Actually, we're going to grab the whole URL. That's going to be simpler. We're going to grab the URL. We're going to go back here, and you'll see there's an option here that I hardly ever talk about, which is import a teaching books list. And you can add your URL here, import, continue, and now we have all 32 titles on this list, as well as in that merged report that we created. So we can save, we can go view this, and so we got to see what appears in that report, but what else can we do now that we have all of these titles in a list? Um, there are so many options, but I'm only going to talk about a couple of them. One of them is sharing. So you'll see this little share arrow on pretty much everything on Teaching Books. It is going to allow you to share with anyone, whether or not they have existing Teaching Books access, no matter where they are, they'll be able to access what you're sharing with them. So that could be as simple as the URL. We've got QR code printables. So if you've got Women's History Month programming, or if you've got a little recommended reading list kind of situation on your service desk, and you want to have the bookmarks out, you can print these, cut them up, and they will have QR code and link access to that list that you created. So quick and easy. You could add it to the display and say, here are books that we have physically in this display. Here's a list of other ones that you could put on hold that we may or may not have on the shelf right now. You can share it on social media. You're doing a little Instagram promotion for Women's History Month. You want to share it that way. You can share it in Google Classroom if you're in the schools, if you're working with a teacher who's looking for some Women's History Month biographies. You can just email it, put it on your calendar for February of next year when you're preparing. You want to remember what you did for next year's Women's History Month. You can email it to a colleague. I, in my past life, was a youth services librarian in a public library system. And one of the things that I did was create lists for our staff to refill Heritage Month displays. So we had a cycle of displays that we did in our children's sections. For Women's History Month, I would put together a huge list of everything that we had in the catalog that fell into those categories that I thought that they might want to pull. And so when our school tour groups came through or story time group came through, and afterwards the display looks like you were visited by locusts and there's absolutely nothing left, you had an easy list to pull from. Had staff members with varying levels of confidence in picking books for a display themselves, or just varying amounts of time to spend hunting down biographies on the shelves. And so it was a really easy starting point for that. So this is information that can be shared internally. It's information that can be shared externally with your patrons or your families, parents of your students you're working with in the schools. You can embed this. If you've got a library page for your school, elementary school library, you've got a web page for it. You can grab this code and put this in and make sure your students and their parents have access to a great list of books and great resources for those books. They'll be able to access all the resources, author interviews, book discussion guides, activity kits, readers' theater scripts, book readings, book trailers, all sorts of stuff for all of the books on the list that you've created. All right. Anything else that we want to share about lists? Katie and Aaron.
I don't remember having seen that copying that whole URL, and you probably did show it to me before, but sometimes I need to see things a few times before it sinks in.
I don't think I've shared that in a while, which is why I was like,
Okay,
I should do that today.
that
So,
was really cool. So yeah, that was really good. Enjoyed that.
we make it very easy to merge the reports, but it is actually also very easy to merge the lists as well. So if you want those, if those are living separately and you want to combine them, fast way to do that. I never want you to be sitting there adding title by title if you don't have to. So try to make that fast. All right. Gonna head back here. Again, if you have lost track of it, if you're exploring Browse and you're 6 searches deep and you want to get back and take a look at that handbook again, your fastest route is always going to be going back to your reading lists, and then you'll see your initiative homepage, Missouri or Ohio, linked on the left here. here we are again, handbook, FAQ, email me, happy to help with anything that comes up. Pop back over to our slides briefly. As I mentioned, this is something that we are always hoping is not just a one-time thing. You can analyze as many things as many times as you want. I got some feedback from a user recently, a registrant recently, who said they never realized that they could do this more than once. So here's me telling you, you can do this more than once. Please do. This is always intended to be kind of an iterative process where maybe you're coming back to different collections, or maybe you're coming back to the same collection repeatedly to explore different things, to come at it at different times with different goals in mind. And so again, here can just keep going through that flow chart. As I mentioned, this is our second spring webinar. We have 2 more coming up before we take a summer pause. In April, on Tuesday the 21st, we're going to be getting together to talk about school and public library collaboration. So different ways that you can use collection analysis to start building cool partnerships in your community. And then on May 19th, we will be talking about award-winning titles on TeachingBooks and with collection analysis. So building winning collections. Please do join us for both of those. If you are registered for the initiative in either state, which you should be if you're at this webinar, then you will get an email inviting you to register for the upcoming webinars as well. Get a reminder from me when it's coming up. But if you're not seeing those, please do reach out. Again, that help email address. There we go. Sometimes things end up filtered out of your email. Sometimes they end up in spam. So if you're not seeing emails from us about the webinars, please do reach out. I'm happy to make sure that those are getting to you. Again, if you've got questions, Erin and I are happy to answer them. If you were in Ohio, Katie and I are happy to do the same if you're in Missouri. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We're always here for whatever it is, whether it's a small, I didn't see the webinar registration email kind of question, or a really big, I'm working on a huge collection project and I need help thinking about how it might work best with these tools. So happy to talk about any of that. All right. Thank you again for your time today. It was wonderful to take a look at these collections with you and get excited about Women's History Month and more.